Right there. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Big 12 Mafia Show on the College Football Mafia Network. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown. With me are my partners in crime and really contributors and things that keep this channel going. That would be Rock and Rant and Wild Ute. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing excellent.
Well.
Good. That's
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. That's right. Tonight, up on my left, my left right here is the guy that's really important tonight. That would be Alonzo Highsmith, University of Miami Hurricanes graduate, longtime NFL both player and executive, and also has experience in the college football ranks. Alonzo, how are you doing today?
You know what? I'm doing well. I was telling you earlier, my wife had the kidney transplant. She's doing well. I'm well, and looking forward to the NFL season. Getting ready to see if we can get these Patriots going.
That's right. In fact, why don't you tell us right now what you're doing with New England? This is a new job, right?
Yeah, I'm senior executive of football, and basically, I don't know what titles really mean anymore. I feel like I'm doing the same thing I've always done, and I'm involved in every aspect of the organization, from acquisition of players, college drafting, our current players, all that kind of stuff. So, I do a lot of things, and it's a pleasure to work with probably my best friend in the business, Elliot Wolf, who I've known since Green Bay, and we've been close friends ever since. And, I hadn't planned on leaving college football, but the more and more I got into college football, I was kind of like, they don't need me in this business. I thought Mario Cristobal's done a good job. They've got a good recruiting base. They've got really good coaches who recruit well. I think Miami's on the right track. And, as I thought more about it, I think I was probably more suited for the pro game than college. And I could have done the college thing. To me, college is easy. You get 25 scholarships. The hard part about college is, regardless whatever you think of the kid, can you sign the kid and can you get him committed?
Right.
But as far as evaluating talent, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. I mean,
at college, not the pro. Then is it a different process than for a high school kid?
At the high school level, there's just so many kids.
Right.
You got to figure there's 18,000 high schools that play football in the United States, and every school graduates 25 seniors or whatever it is. And I've always had this thought in my mind that you're telling me this 5'10" kid in wherever he is the number one corner in the nation. I say to myself, impossible. Not unless you've watched every single one, you've kicked the tires on every single one. I just think there's so many. I think there's so much out there that if you do it right, you can really do it well. And the Georgias and the Alabamas, they're ahead of everybody in a lot of ways. But, still Michigan came along, and, you've got the ACC, Florida State came along. So, you can find high school kids, you can develop high school kids, and, the portals made things differently. And the hard part about the portal is, to me, the portal is about taking draftable players. If he's not a draftable player, why would you want him? Because to me, the only way you're going to play for a national championship is you got to have draft picks. I don't mean 1 and 2. Michigan had 14 draft picks. Alabama had 12 or 13. I mean, you look at the teams that were in the Final Four, they had draft picks. And it's weird. I go back even to my freshman class, and we played for the national championship 3 out of 4 years. And I thought about this. I was the 3rd pick. Jerome Brown was the 9th pick. Melvin Bratton would have been a first-round pick if he hadn't hurt his knee.
Yeah, that was a brutal injury.
Yeah, Winston Moss was a second pick. Brian Blaze was a second-round pick.
Yeah.
Greg Riccozzi was a second-round pick. Danny Stubbs was a second-round pick. And then you go on to Warren Williams and Alfredo Roberts and all these guys. And theoretically, honestly, if they've got that many draft picks on their team, you're not supposed to beat those guys.
Right.
I mean, and I'm not including the Michael Irvins and the Benny Blades and from their class.
Right.
So I think you see a trend that if you want to play for the national championship, you need NFL players. You need guys going in the first, second, third round, and not one or two of them. I mean, 6, 7 of them. And I think that's what you've seen in the last couple of years with the teams playing for the Final Four.
Right.
Great comment. So, Alonzo, speaking of that too, so if you're trying to build a championship winning culture and say that you are a program that can't recruit with the Alabamas or even the Miamis, right? Like you're just not at that level. You don't have a huge NIL budget. Like, how can you build? What can you do to build a championship level culture?
You're gonna have to uncover every stone and turn over every rock to find players. You're gonna have to hustle. You're gonna have to take that 6'5", 240-pound offensive tackle. You're gonna have to take that wide receiver that runs 4.6, but is a hell of a player that all the other big schools passed over. You can have a successful program. You look at the Middle Tennessees, and there's a lot of schools that have won not recruiting 5-star players. Now,
Right.
here's the difference: that if you don't have draft picks and you're playing against a Middle Tennessee or North Texas, and they've got no draft picks, well, it's about this. It's about an even game.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The game doesn't become different till the talent level on the field is what makes the game different.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say everything you've covered, you went top to bottom with all the things we'd want to talk about: the draft, the NFL, players, everything else. I actually had a huge, really important question to start off with the show, and then I decided I was going to do something completely different. So first of all, let me welcome everybody. You've stepped into an amazing night. We have Alonzo Highsmith, Miami Hurricane. I don't even want to call him. He's legendary in the Hurricane
Hall of
land.
Fame.
I doubt you pay for a dinner whenever you go back home, do you?
Oh, I pay for a lot of dinners.
Okay. All right. I would buy you dinner.
Craig Erickson doesn't even give you a discount at Hole in the Wall.
Oh boy. Well, I don't want to talk about Erickson right now. Anyway, we appreciate you being here. Thank you for taking the time. We're going to really ask you a bunch to follow up on some of those things you were just talking about. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us all on Twitter. Turn on your notifications when you know our show is on. Tonight, as long as we have Alonzo on, we're probably going to defer our super chats to the end, at least until we get near the end of Alonzo's time. I just wanted to set expectations. And we're going to sort of go from there. I also want to introduce Moen, he's lurking in our background in our green room. There's not enough room on the screen to have him on here, and so he was nice and deferred and said he would come on later in the show. So I just want to start off and I'm going to give you this question just dead without leading you in or anything like that. Let me bring it up here. So just tonight, the Division I Council of the NCAA put out a few rulings, and there we go. All right. I'm going to see if I can make that bigger. I'll just go to the whole screen. Let me just read these, Alonzo, and then I'd like your feedback on them. The D1 Council votes to remove cannabinoids, which is marijuana, from the banned drug class for championships and postseason participation in football. That it hasn't been final approved, but that'll be voted on tomorrow. And to follow up with that, it says cannabinoids will be addressed like other non-performance enhancing drugs like alcohol. NCAA members will focus on harm reduction strategies, problematic cannabis use, and centering health of student athletes. So what do you think about this? The NCAA basically taking the lid off what they could potentially start to use marijuana for.
Well, I will say this about the NCAA. If the NCAA comes up with it, it's usually wrong. So, I mean, the NCAA makes rules that sometimes you scratch your head. And but I will say this, I think you've seen the NFL get rid of drug testing. Eventually it was going to filter on down to college football.
Right.
With the different states saying marijuana is legal, creates a lot of issues from one state to the next state. So I think they probably came together and just said, you know what, alcohol causes more accidents. Alcohol causes more
Right.
problems. Alcohol's probably caused way more problems than
Marijuana.
marijuana ever has, other than prohibition when they said alcohol was illegal, and then
Right.
wars and gang wars and all that kind of stuff. Which is what happened to the drug trade with marijuana. It was illegal, and when people want to get something, they go about it the illegal way, and then you start crime, a whole bunch of things. So I probably think it's probably going the same direction as alcohol.
Okay. But by itself, do you think that's a breakthrough for some of the medical stuff, certainly in pain management and whatnot? Do you see the NCAA getting aggressive and actually trying to turn it around to be a positive for the players that are out there? Because obviously injuries and pain is a huge thing.
You know what, man? I've had all kinds of injuries and pain. Honestly, I've never tried marijuana, so I don't really know.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a good person to ask. I've had people give me gummies and that kind of
Right.
stuff. That kind of stuff, like my doctor gave it to me. He said it would help my shoulder.
Right.
And I don't remember because I was asleep. So I guess it did help.
I love it. That's great.
So,
All right.
so I would be a bad person to ask on the marijuana thing, because
Okay.
I know guys that smoke marijuana and go out and rush for 200 yards with no problem,
Right.
and play great football. But I know you can't do that drinking alcohol. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've always wondered, how harmful is marijuana? I couldn't tell you.
Well, I think because it's being legalized, you're seeing that it's not as bad as some anticipated.
Yeah.
But like you, I've never had marijuana just because I just don't have that in my life. But that doesn't mean that I don't take other medicines for pain management,
Yeah,
right?
I always figured I was kind of crazy enough. No use putting else in.
Oh,
And,
okay. All right.
so I don't frown on marijuana. That's, from what I've seen of marijuana, most of the people smoking marijuana sit in their house and play PlayStation. So
That's right.
That's exactly what you
Eat a lot of Twinkies. All right,
Yeah.
Brock, I'm going to kick it over to our Miami in resident, Alonzo. So please be kind. He definitely has been looking forward to this with you. Brock, you're muted.
You're on mute.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, guys. Can you hear me now? Hopefully.
Yes.
All right. So Alonzo, you left Miami, I think, in February. If I recall, that was the announcement of you going to the Patriots. And this is sort of like, what is your assessment about the state of college football right now? Because just since you left, Clemson sued the ACC, the college football playoffs were extended, and a revenue disparity came into play. There was a proposed settlement on the past NIL deal and a possible revenue sharing. Today, the NCAA just approved unlimited coaches. As you look at it, as somebody who was in the mix over a couple of years of pure change in the sport, as a former player, as an NFL executive, and now back as an NFL executive, like, what is just like your state of college football from your eyes?
Well, I kind of look at college football as a trial and error thing. I think they're trying to make the game better, but they're making errors along the way. And they're trying to learn as they go. And, I think there's been some mistakes made. I think the NCAA said, you know what? You guys want to pay players? We're out of this. But you can't take any money from this. So you're going to have to get your money for these players any way you can't get it. I don't believe begging boosters for money is going to be the successful way for college football. I think there's going to have to be a revenue sharing, television, marketing, TV rights, all those sorts of things, very similar to the NFL. I think there's going to have to be some comprehensive reform to make it right, because it's hard to go back to donors every year and say, I need $1 million, I need $2 million. It'd be like going to your best friend. If you lent him $1,200 for his mortgage, you may do it one or two times, but
Right.
the third and fourth time, you're going to say, I can't. And then the fifth time, you're just going to stop answering his calls.
Right.
So I think you put the football program in a difficult situation when you have to literally, in order to compete for kids and you're paying them. I think that who am I going to? I got to find a different person every year to go back and get this money. So you put everybody in you put everybody in a tough situation. And
Alonzo, your mic cut out. If he can't hear us, can you guys hear him?
I can't hear him. No. Alonzo, your mic cut out. We can't hear you.
You want to send him a text, Rock, and let him know?
salaries, I don't think
There
there's
he
a
is.
kid. I don't think there's a kid playing college football worth $1 million. That's just me.
Okay.
You know, I might be wrong. There's probably maybe 2 or 3 you might think about that, but I think the rest of them are all, you know, I think there has to be. Listen, I can't pay you more than professional football players.
Tell that to Cam Rising.
You know, there's not even a guarantee you're going to be a professional football player.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that's a tough situation. You create a hierarchy. You're paying freshmen more than starting players. It just starts. It's a whole crazy thing, man. It's you know, and I think Mario's done a good job navigating through it because basically, if you're not paying, so you know, if you're not in the game, it's going to be hard to recruit the top players. So that's just the way it is. And that's not just for Miami. That's for every school in the nation.
Right. Ute, go ahead.
Good stuff there. Yeah. So I'm really interested in your past scouting experience, your current scouting experience. I love the player evaluation component. And I think only someone like you could answer this type of question. So really, when you're doing a player evaluation, whether it be at the high school or college level for the pros, or when you're at Miami or whatever, what are 1 or 2 traits or attributes that are often overlooked, completely overlooked, that make a great player, or at least provide the ingredients for a great player?
It's a good question.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I was just talking about that with my son. And one of the things I've always been able to do in this business, whether it was a kid, a 3A high school kid, or a kid at 5A Central High School, wherever, big high school versus 1A high school, I've always been able to strip the uniform down off of the player while I'm watching film. I don't give you credit for going to Central. I don't give you credit for going to Alabama or Miami. To me, once I'm watching you, I want to know, does this guy have the physical traits to play at the next level? That's what I'm looking at. When I'm looking at a high school kid, I don't worry about, oh, he got beat on this play. Oh, his team is 4-5. The kid is 6'4", 210 pounds. He runs the hurdles. He's athletic. He's on the basketball team. I see this kid differently than a star rating. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This kid, I think this kid in 3 years could be whatever he wants to be. And I think that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the physical traits that it takes to play against Alabama: size, speed, athleticism, playmaking ability, all those things. And wherever it comes from, I don't care. I just want it on my team. And that's how I've always looked at scouting.
Very fair. Do you have a follow-up, Ute, to that?
No, go ahead.
All right. Go ahead, Rock.
Yeah, so Alonzo, on the whole talent acquisition side, you know, the NFL has free agency, you know, fodders for fans like us about, you know, who's going to go where during the offseason. You have the draft, and there's like the legal tampering period. In college football, the portal has emerged as that kind of zone. The other day, there was a thread, and I saw you comment on where someone was reacting to, there was an Oklahoma State announcer who basically was out there accusing Miami of tampering. Without necessarily going into anything you can't give away about like how things go from your time in Miami, what is the reality of contacts and player agents as it relates to the transfer portal and how things work before somebody actually goes into the portal that maybe fans speculate about but maybe don't know about, that you can give like a broad statement about?
You know what? I will say this. I thought at Miami, I thought we did it the right way. I thought we developed a system that was pretty good. I had two young kids with me, and I was talking to them one day, and I said, we need a better system than we had last year for the portal. And I gave them some ideas, and I said, this is what we need to do. And, I thought we had a hell of a system down going into this past portal period. And the way we did it, the way we organized it, the way we graded the film, the way we watched the players, I thought we did a really good job. Basically, we were done by November watching players.
Wow, really?
And it was because of the way we did it, and we knew everybody. And once that guy decided he was going to go in the portal, we jumped on it if we deemed him a player we wanted for our team. And there were some really good players that we didn't get at Miami that either went in the draft or they went to a different school. There's those things you can't help. But I thought Miami did a good job this year in the portal. They got Barron, they got Martinez, the running back, and they got Cam Ward, who was a difference maker. And I think what Cam Ward's going to provide to this team is probably worth more than what they paid him.
Is he an NFL quarterback, Alonzo?
Yeah, he's an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, he looks pretty good up here.
Yeah,
he does.
He's an NFL quarterback. Now, I can't tell you what round right now. There's a lot of things have to happen between now and next year. But he's got all the physical traits. He's a very humble young man. He's a hardworking young man. He's a leader. He loves football. He loves the process, and that's what you want in your quarterback. Teammates look to him as that guy. And, they've got Martinez, the running back. They've got Rivers at tackle, Carpenter at center, Francis at right tackle, Cooper at right guard. Restrepo's back, George is back. Arroyo's coming back at tight end. So there's a lot of optimism. There's a lot of positives there for the University of Miami next year. And I think I've always said this about football, just from playing and watching. There's only so much coaching I can do, or coaching and pushing. And if I have to get you enthusiastic and working hard about players, I will say this about the University of Miami. It's time for the players to take over now. It's enough of this coaching stuff.
Right.
It's time for these players to put a flag in the ground and say what they want to be in college football. And that's through your work ethic. That's through your hunger. That's through everything you do permeates onto the football field on Saturday. And, being in New England, I understood why New England won so much in those 20 years with Belichick and Brady. They had men on their team. See, there's a difference between having men on your team and children on your team. Children, I have to make you work hard. I got to make you tuck your shirt in. I got to chase you around to be on time. I got to tell you when to eat. Men is part of who they are. They're men. They have an obligation. They show up every day. They work hard every day. They have a purpose. And New England had about 10 of those on their team. And, and I look back to my years in playing football, like at Miami, we had men. We didn't need Coach Johnson. Now, Coach Johnson was the man, and we all respected him, but we didn't need Coach Johnson to get us ready to play football. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think Miami players have to make a truth and a vow to themselves that we can't have Middle Tennessee coming into our stadium and that's on players. That ain't got nothing to do with coaching. You let Middle Tennessee come down. That's on you guys. Now,
and I know you guys hold him responsible because I see Irvin on television all the time, and he talks about Miami. He's like, these players need to step up and take responsibility.
It's your team.
Yeah.
This team is going to be whatever you want it to be, and it's all out in front of you. It's up to them. It's not going to be play calling. It's not going to be this. It's going to be people who make plays. It's going to be guys who work. They're passionate. They're smart. They do all the right things. They don't get dumb 15-yard penalties. They don't jump offside. They do the right things. That's called being a man. And men win games. Michigan won a national championship, and after scouting them and meeting all those kids, they were all men.
Mhm.
I think that's pretty good.
So Alonzo, great segue into this. So men versus boys on a college roster, an NFL roster. Okay, so with that noted, you as an evaluator, you as a leader, how do you as a leader maximize potential for players to the fullest? And like how would you do that for a man? How would you do that for a boy on a team?
Well, I think it's a matter of the people you bring into your team. You bring in good guys. You bring in guys with outstanding work ethics. You bring in guys that the game's important to them.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning of building something in football. When you all of a sudden you've got 5 guys, 6 guys, 8 guys, 9 guys, 10 guys, 12 guys, 13 guys. And the guys who don't want to buy in, there's so many guys around them who have bought in, they just weed themselves out.
Yeah.
And that's called the team taking care of itself. The team is always supposed to keep itself in order in what we do. And Kobe Bryant talked about it. He used to tell guys, yeah, we can go out till 3 a.m, but we better be in the weight room at 7 a.m. You know,
That's what Jordan did. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's the same thing we did at Miami when I was here. Yeah, we went out, we had fun, but everybody knew what we had to do the next day because Coach Johnson, there was a little bit of fear of Coach Johnson. You know what I mean? And same with Howard Schnellenberger, and same with Pat Riley, and and same with a lot of coaches. There's a little fear there that you don't want to disappoint, you don't want to get in trouble. So it's kind of like your parents. They say be home at 11 o'clock. I'm gonna be home at 11:15 to make sure I'm there so I don't get in trouble. And that's just respect. Your respect as a player is based on how you perform on Saturday.
You're treated and given the freedoms based on what your performance is, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I want my coaches to respect me and always know they can count on me. So I'm always going to try and do the right things. Yeah, you are going to lose sometimes. That happens in sports. People lose all the time. But it's never going to make me change who I am or what this team can be. Hey, we lost one. Now we're going to go 10-1. And that's a mindset. And that's how you approach the game. And at some point, you can't keep turning to the coach. You can't keep turning to this. It's you guys. It's you. I got nothing to do. I'm watching the game on the sideline. If you get punched in your mouth, that's your fault. What do you want me to do?
So I've got a question for you. I don't even know if you're going to want to answer it or not, but the realignment has been something we've covered extensively for almost 2 years now. And, where all these schools end up and what conferences and all that. A lot of people are getting tired of it. They're bored or maybe they just want to watch football. I do have a question for you as an expert, though. This is your background. You have a national championship. You played in other national championship caliber games. My question to you is, do we end up with a super league with a couple of conferences and 24 teams roughly? Or do you think that there's room for something that would be the best of the rest type of a conference? Right now, that's filled by the ACC and the Big 12 together. Eventually, it might be something else. What do you project in 5 or 6 years for college football?
Well, personally, that's a good question because I often think about that. And as realignment is, this conference wants to leave this conference, and they want to form a new conference. At the end of the day, I think there's just going to be 4 or 5 super conferences.
Okay.
Somehow the other teams that aren't in those super conferences will play similar to what 1AA does for a national championship.
Okay.
I think there should be 2. I think there should be national championship divisions.
Okay.
And no different than high school football. I've been to a 6A state championship game. I've been to a 1A state championship game. They were both great games.
Right.
And there's a reason why one school's 1A and one school's 6A. Well, the 6A school has 5,000 students. and the 1A school has 900 students. You
Right.
know what I mean? And it's the same thing in college football. Like, I mean, when you're the University of Pocahontas playing against Alabama, you're supposed to lose that game. This school spends $30 million a year on football. You spend $2 million. I
Right.
mean, the number's saying. So what I was thinking was, why not give everyone in their division an opportunity to win a championship? Just like boxing. That's why you have lightweight, heavyweight,
That's true.
flyweight, all the way down. Because the games are going to be good when they're played against foes of their similar competition. They're good games. I've been to 2A state championship game. I've been to 3A state championship game. They were great games. I don't want to see the state champion from 6A play a 1A team.
Not many people do, I don't think.
It's
But,
not.
and
It's
players
not
get
gonna,
hurt and everything else.
yeah,
Right.
it's not going to turn up right. I don't like seeing a lower tier Division 1 team or Division 2 team get beat 64-2. That's
Right.
not good for football or healthy for the game. It happens. I'd rather see Miami beat Alabama 64-10 or something like that. But
Or Florida State in Georgia.
I think there's going to be like a tier division of the schools.
Okay. That's very fair. Rock. We're going to only do a couple more questions, if that's okay, Alonzo. You got the time for that?
Yep.
Okay.
So, sort of to follow up on Nate's question there on realignment from a Miami perspective, yeah, there's a recent change with Julio Frank leaving and Joe Echeverria, I'm probably botching his name, coming in as the interim president. We'll see what happens. Do you have any concerns from a Miami perspective, without giving away anything you're not allowed to speak to, from your recent role of Miami, where it lands in all this conference conversation, especially where revenue gaps between conferences could be north of $50 million based on what seems to be public? Do you feel the administration's in the right place? And do you have concerns about being left out of a Power 2 for even a short period of time?
That's a good question.
Well, it's going to be an unfortunate situation if Miami's ever left out of conference. Miami's good for college football. It's a brand, and I don't think you leave brands out.
Yep.
Whether it's the Big Ten, whether it's the ACC, I'm hoping Clemson and Florida State decide to stay, and maybe we add some more teams later on. But as long as every conference gets an opportunity to play for the national championship, what does it matter?
It's very true.
That's. Whether you're in the ACC, SEC, Big 12, you're going to get an opportunity to play for the national championship. So, and personally, do you really, if you go to the SEC, do you really want to go through that gauntlet? I mean, that's when you look at that schedules you're going to take. I mean, at some point you're going to see in with this realignment, you're going to see teams, first of all, they start the playoffs with 7-5 records, because they played a stretch where they played Georgia, Alabama, LSU, right, Kentucky, Texas, and then Oklahoma, and they lost 3 of the games by a field goal. So, right. I mean, it's gonna create this new playoff system is awesome because you're not going to get shut out for 2 losses,
right?
Like the bottom tier teams, I'm thinking like the last 4 teams into the playoffs probably have 3 losses, maybe. Because
maybe that could happen,
especially if they're in a tough conference.
Right.
If you're in a tough conference, those 3 losses might be better than some teams who were 9-1 somewhere else. Oh,
absolutely.
So
no doubt about it.
It's going to be interesting. I don't have any answers. I'm just following like everybody else, just watching. I'm hoping that, I think Miami's under the right leadership with Joe Echeverria, Rudy Fernandez, Dan Radakovich. They're very bright men. And I found out a lot of things that I didn't know talking to Dan Radakovich. Everything you're thinking about, they've already thought about that. So don't worry.
Oh, really? I was expecting a phone call.
You're 10 steps behind.
Yeah,
You mean, Alonzo, we shouldn't worry about the public statements, a la the Texas A&M baseball coach saying everybody should leave him alone. It's selfish to ask about the Texas job last night, and then today he takes the Texas baseball job,
Yeah, that
no
was
matter what he
stupid.
said the night before.
Yeah, that's something that's never going to change.
All right. Did you have another follow-up, Rock, or is that it?
No, go to you.
Okay, go ahead. You.
Do you guys have any more questions about realignment the college landscape? Because I have a question about Alonzo's playing days.
No, let's get that one question in because I think we're going to wrap this up and let him go.
Gotcha.
So go ahead.
So Alonzo, man, that Miami squad, the championship squad when you played OU and everything, some real excellent teams and everything. You know what that all looks like. And question though for you, like those Miami teams that you were on kind of epitomize what swagger is for a football team, I think. Like when I think of swagger, I think of the U back in that timeline and just everything you played, all the loose play, all just the fun that you had and everything. So the question is this. So when you're injecting swagger into a roster and everything, how do you control that chaos a little bit so you don't play undisciplined football? Well, you actually play loose and everything with discipline.
It's funny you ask that because somebody asked me, they say, what swag? I don't think anybody knew what swag meant when I was playing college football.
Oh, I'm sure that's true.
I mean,
no doubt.
And it's no different than culture. Good football teams, players don't sit around the locker room going, oh, this is a great culture we have here. No one does that. That's usually said by the people on the outside who are watching you win 10 games. The only way you create culture and swag is through winning. Yeah. See, you can't talk yourself up into wins. You can't throw the U up and think someone cares about that. No one cares about that. Mainly, if you don't work hard and you're not a tough guy and you're trying to be tough, they're gonna take that U, turn it upside down, and put it somewhere where you don't want it to go. So, I mean, so swag is about your work ethic. It's about toughness. It's about a relentlessness to win and team bonding and team togetherness. That when you walk on the field, it's you can all. My mom would tell you, I can already tell they're going to win this game the way they walked on the field. That is swag. See, a lot of people got this swag stuff all backwards. They thought it meant a gold chain. They thought it meant
cool factor.
Cool factors, and you're going to run around because you're wearing this or you're wearing that, and somebody cared. All that's going to do is get your ass kicked because now those people are fired up to play against you, and you're not a real dude. You know what I mean? You haven't worked hard. You haven't done all the little things that you needed to do, and so you get caught. And those things happen. And culture, I'm not going to say the coach, but I remember a coach talking to him about 20 minutes before the game. He says, you know what, Alonzo? This is the best culture we've ever had, and we're doing this. I said, oh, man, that's good. They were down 42-0 before the half.
Oh, my God.
I said they forgot one thing about culture. They need some good players.
There you go. That's right.
So, so those kind of things, it always, remember this, it's not about schemes. You're not going to talk yourself. It's about good players. Yeah. And not only think about good players, the reason why they're good players, because their work ethic, their obligation. And not enough people talk about obligation. And when I played football, and maybe times are different, I don't know, but I heard Michael Jordan say it on the
Last Dance.
Last Dance.
Uh-huh.
I had an obligation. Like my obligation was to my family, those who helped me along the way, my coaches from high school who were expecting me to be somebody and play at a certain level, my teammates, the University of Miami, the president. I always felt as though I had an obligation to all these people, and that's why I wanted to play well. Now, Did I have an obligation? Some people say I don't owe anybody nothing. No, no, no. You owe your teammates, you owe your family, all the people who sacrificed for you to get where you're at. There's an obligation you have to have in this game. I don't care what your background is, where you came from. Somehow you got here, and there's an obligation that you owe to yourself. You don't owe me anything, but you do owe it to yourself, and you do owe it to your teammates and all the people counting on you. Those are the things, to me, what good players are. And that's what I found out working in New England, being around the former Miami players who were successful, being around Jimmy Johnson, Howard Schnellenberger, Mario Cristobal. Like, you can say whatever you want about Mario Cristobal. This guy works his ass off because he feels he's got an obligation to the city of Miami, the University of Miami, his family, this team, to be a good football team. And that's how he works.
I love hearing that. That level of commitment is amazing. And you're right, everybody should have it. If they're going to be there, if you don't want to play, just go do something else.
Yeah.
All right, Rock has one more question. Go ahead, Rock.
Yeah, just to pay a little bit of homage to the origin of this channel, these guys from the start of this on a Big 12 level before moving on to a national level. Are there any programs in the current Big 12, with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, that that coach is really on your radar, or you're really impressed, or you think that they're going to surprise people this year? And then just separately, is there a team in college football separate from that you're really looking forward to watching this year besides Miami, obviously?
Well, I'm just a big college fan, and I like Miami more than anybody, but I'm a huge college football fan. I've met so many coaches over the years and share a lot of stories and talk to them about a lot of things. And so I pull for all coaches because my dad was a coach. And I want everybody to win, but that's not going to happen. But the school that always amazes me is Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you want about Mike Gundy. I don't know where he gets his recruits from. I don't know where he gets these receivers from. I don't know where he gets these guys from. But every time you count Mike Gundy out, what's Mike Gundy? Probably the fourth. What is he, the fourth or fifth winningest coach in college football?
He's won a lot of games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's been there a long time.
He's been there a long time, and
Right.
and he understands what Oklahoma State football is. He understands how Oklahoma State football wins, and the guy does a hell of a job. There's a lot of coaches that do a hell of a job, and he sticks out to me because every year Oklahoma State's supposed to have a down year. They win 10 games, and they're playing.
Right.
They're playing for the Big 12 championship, and I didn't realize Oklahoma State's beat Texas, 16 out of the 14?
Yeah, the last couple decades they've owned Texas.
And you don't think about that when you think of Oklahoma State.
So I think you could say that for the whole conference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there one national we should keep our eyes on? Just something really quick. A team that you think could sneak in?
I got a secret team.
Who's that?
Ooh,
You ready?
Yeah.
Miami.
University of Miami.
All right, here we go. I love it. I was waiting for that.
Miami's going to be dang good, though. Seriously.
They are going to be good.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
We are all fans of Miami here, so we appreciate you coming on, Alonzo. This has been fantastic. I hope you had fun. We'd love to do this again.
Okay, let me know.
Okay, we'll do it.
Thanks so
Have a
much.
great night, and prayers for your mother or for your wife, by the way.
Yep.
Just so you know,
Congrats.
a little personal history. My mom had a transplant. I think a kidney transplant in 2008. They gave her about 5 years or so, and she's still ticking. So
All right.
I know they work, and they work well. And she had a lot of complications and still is going along. So prayers for her and your family, and hopefully, that continues to go well.